Hello there, and good evening. I have a bit of an introductory video, and it is going to kind of go over a general idea of a project that I've been working on, and one that I shall continue to be working on for, I would suspect, several months. This is very much inspired by the Godzilla -1 film. However, the initial idea for this was actually brewing in the back of my mind for several years. It's just that seeing the movie, I finally felt a bit of a call to action and actually doing something about the idea, bringing it to life, as it were. So, without further ado, let me introduce the source material for this project. Basically, this is a catalog of vessels that were left at the end of the war. These are the ones that survived in the Japanese Navy. So you do have a very good source of information. And they'll have all the diagrams for each class. And then in here, these small boxes, right? Let me show a good example. Let's get to the destroyers or something like that. Yes. Let's see. Because quite a few destroyers survived. Here we go. So, for instance, you'll have the main class of the ship, but right in here, you'll have the name of each individual ship that is within the class. So, for instance, right, at the very beginning here, we have the Nagato and the Issei class. Now, I have a representative of each of those, in fact. For Nagato, well, of course, she's the only one, as we all know, or most of us would know. Mutsu was sunk due to a catastrophic explosion while in port. Quite unfortunate, although if she had survived much longer, her fate would have been perhaps very similar to Nagato, or perhaps to some of the Congos. Regardless, we have Nagato here. And then we have not Issei, but we have Hyuga here, the hybrid battleship carrier. So we have her present and ready for service. And we also have Haruna, one of the Congo class, with all other members being lost. Now, you can say that, oh, well, these ships, many of them were sunk in port, so, they were still sunk, but they technically survived combat. They did not, go to the bottom of the deep ocean. They were sunk in shallow water and recoverable. So we're working on some technicalities here and a bit of artistic liberation and interpretation. However, one of the main stars of this show is, Takao. A quick spoiler warning for anyone that may not have seen the movie by now, and you may be concerned about spoilers. I will count you down in 3, 2, 1. The spoiler: we all saw Takao's glorious and yet very painful duel with Godzilla in the -1 film, where she was quite literally erased from existence. But we saw that glorious few salvos that she got off against the beast. Because of that, as well as what I had already been thinking of, I thought, what if Japan, in an alternate timeline, things escalated further? And instead of just Takao and some destroyers, right, maybe a couple cruisers as well, and auxiliary ships, what if Japan was given even more ability to rearm and defend itself? What if they were given a small battle fleet of sorts, a task force of sizable rapport? That'd be quite a fascinating thing. Now, of course, we know it's a Godzilla film. If a bunch of ships go out, many, if not all of them, are going to get sunk. But still, it'd be cool to watch. I have them here, so I shall continue using this as my source material. Set that aside, however. Speaking of Takao, we have her right here. And it's strange that the paint scheme called for a slightly different shade of brown for her model. Strange side note that I noticed after doing these. As far as the different grays, I think my combination here, I had to make a bit of a house blend for a long time because the actual colors from Tamiya I could not find anywhere near me, right? Until just a few weeks ago. I found a hobby shop that has the correct specific shades of gray. But upon closer inspection, my home blend actually is very close. Almost not noticeable, in fact. When compared, I believe, to the Kure Arsenal's gray. The Seispo Arsenal is noticeably lighter by maybe a shade and a half or so, but very close to the darker Kure Arsenal gray. But that little note aside, we're going to focus more on this, as well as bring in a little destroyer here, just for scale. Speaking of scale, all of these, this one has not yet been built, but it'll also be in the fleet. These are all going to be 1/700th scale waterline ships. Many of them are going to be from Tamiya here. However, many more of them, one moment, are from this company here, Aoshima. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong again. And this is the one carrier that I allowed myself to put into this project. The reason being is, naval aviation carriers, right, were the defining factor, the major player of force when it came to the Pacific War. And no matter how bad your country is threatened by a radioactive lizard, I don't think America would be too keen on giving back, a large naval air arm to the Japanese. Let me set these aside here. I don't think they'd be too keen on that, in my opinion. However, simply for scouting purposes, for a little bit of flexibility, they might allow only one carrier, as well as perhaps the hybrid ship. So, I added it in. Plus, let's be honest, I just wanted a carrier. So those are two ships that I will be adding. A majority of this fleet will, in fact, be destroyers similar to this. Simply because, of course, they are cheaper, and I can make more of them. As far as other ships, there will be no more capital ships. And the cruisers, I might only purchase maybe 2 more of my choosing. Now, the actual elephant in the room, however, was how do I get the waterline series, this diorama, this scene, how do I get Godzilla to fit into it? Well, I'm thinking, they'll be in a battle line, a formation of sorts, and Godzilla will be off in the distance and they'll be firing at him. But how to get Godzilla into this? Because all I have on me are these types of figures. I have this one here, the 1989 one, my personal favorite. In fact, I have to now make a video related to this. Look out for that. But this is my personal favorite design because it sort of defines the Heisei era. And, well, I'm a sucker because I grew up on that. I know everyone loves to argue about which era is the best. I love all three of them. Well, there's more than three now, but the old eras, I suppose. Out of Showa, Heisei, and the Millennium, I love all three. But anyway, that little tangent aside, I have this. And of course, this is a full-scale figure, full body. Technically, the waterline cuts off right around here, right? I'm not going to saw my figure in half. That would be a very messy and wasteful ordeal. Instead, I do think I have an idea. What I have an idea for is perhaps you have the edge, right? So here's the edge of the board or whatever I'm building this on. And on the edge, right, there's going to be a little box. And I will set him inside that box. And then it'll be put up to his chest. So he'll be sort of having to hang off the table, as it were, but in his own little container. And then I will build a little bit around that to sort of enclose him. It'll be a strange workaround, and I'll only be able to put this scene towards the edge of the table and have to probably weigh it down so it doesn't flip. But it is doable, and it's the best I've thought of so far without destroying my figure or purchasing a new one. Because again, most of the budget here is going towards the actual ship models, the paint, other things, right? Also, sure, I would prefer to get a -1 figure, so it's more to the movie, but again, this will have to be a good stand-in. Especially when I hold him against Takao for movie reference, I think it works out pretty well. He might be a little on the bigger side, but for what it's worth and what I'm working with, I think it'll turn out fine. And that's basically it. This is sort of a announcement, teaser, brainstorming, and throwing it out there type of video. But for those of you that stopped by, let me know what you think. Perhaps suggestions on how to better fit him into the set. And yeah, that's about it. Any ideas you may have, because I'm always looking to learn a bit. Because even all this, I'm quite an amateur, I'll admit, but I think they're turning out pretty good so far. Although I do have to do a few touch-ups on some of the these small little details here I have to touch up. Anyway, it's getting quite late, and I believe it is time for me to take a quick shower and go to bed. And I hope you all do the same, getting good sleep. I know many people, including myself, have a terrible sleep schedule. For those of you that stopped by, I do thank you, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace, and good night.